This chart has so much information that I could just go on for quite some time, probably. It kind of shows the inside. That would be some pollen in the cell. And then, eggs and larvae, and the larvae develops and then turns pupates. When you see where the has a cover, the cover's kind of like wax and kind of like cocoon. It's more like cocoon, I would say, and I guess this would be honey. Now down here you're seeing a queen cell. A lot of times you'll find them way down here at the bottom of a frame. Now these things are kind of important and interesting. It takes 24 days from the day of laying the egg for a drone to hatch out and do all that and turn into a bee. I mean, they could fly right off the bat when they come out, but they don't really go outside until later. I'm not sure about the drones, but the worker stays inside for quite some time. I'll explain that later. A worker bee takes 21 days to develop from an egg into a honeybee that's a young worker bee. A queen only takes 16 days, but then she's going to take an additional 10 or 12 days to go mate and get, mated. Usually it takes about a month to where you can safely go look into a hive that had a sealed queen cell. You kind of want to avoid a hive when you find that. What you might do is take the whole frame with the sealed queen cell and then start another colony with it, because it has everything. You might add some bees, some nurse bees. That's hard to explain, but what you do to add nurse bees to a hive is you'll carry a frame of bees over from another hive and shake it right in front of the hive that you want the nurse bees to go into. The worker bees that are older will have already oriented to what beehive they're from, and they'll just fly back to it. But the worker bees that are very young, the nurse bees, will just crawl into the nearest hive because they haven't really ever went outside. Let's talk about that for a minute. From day one here is, I assume that's day one of when they hatched, and I mean when they became a bee. So that's already 3 weeks in, okay? It takes 3 weeks for the egg to turn into a honeybee. And the very first day that it's a honeybee, it comes out and is cleaning cells and keeping brood warm. With the feeding older larvae stage means that what that means is they're getting bee bread, which is maybe here, and taking that and distributing it and feeding it to all these little babies that are developing, usually at this stage. That's an older larvae that's about to pupate, see? And you might ask, well, why are they only feeding our older ones? Because the older ones eat bee bread, and younger larvae, the ones at this stage, are eating royal jelly. So I would assume that this means it takes 6 days for the newly emerged honeybee to develop glands that make royal jelly. Now, at that point, if they're really good at making royal jelly, they could just follow the queen around and make royal jelly for the queen. They call that the retinue. There's like 8 or 10 or 12 bees that just kind of follow the queen around and herd her and clean her and feed her. That would be bees in this age, probably, or maybe even a little older. Because I don't think they lose their ability to make royal jelly. They just probably don't make as much as they age. I don't know, but that's an assumption. says here on day 12 that after becoming a bee, they produce wax, build combs, transport food within the hive. That's work. They're working. And then for a few days, they're guard bees. There's some stage in here, I would say, that they turn into what's called a mortician bee. There are bees within the hive that will take dead bees and then fly them off and then drop them away from the hive, or at least get them out. I'm not sure when exactly what stage that happened, but the bees go through this whole little caste system until finally, about 3 weeks after coming out as a bee. Now they're 6 weeks old here, okay, and that's when they go outside for the first time. In the spring and summer, you'll be able to watch that. It's called orienting, and like a whole class of bees will suddenly all come out and then just kind of fly around and look where they live and then go back in. That's orientation, and you might mistake that for swarming if you're new. But they get oriented and then they start visiting flowers, pollinating, collecting pollen, nectar, propolis, and water. And they do that from 21 to 35. Now let's see, how many days is that? I guess you could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus 10. Say that's 24. I'd say roughly 3 weeks, because it seems like 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. That makes it simple for me to remember. So when people say, well, how long does a bee live? I think about 9 weeks if you count from the day it was an egg. But if you count from the day it became a bee, that's less. Only about that many, 45, maybe 42. 6 weeks. That's where all these numbers come from. And this is pretty good, very, very good chart. It shows that on day 9 is the capping day. That's when you see it turn different colors. That's when they put this cap on. And I don't know if the larvae does it or if the rest of the bees do it. I think the larvae does from the inside. This is pretty interesting stuff, and it shows just about everything you need to know about bees, all in one little place hung in the hallway of my house. This one's getting kind of ratty because it's not in a frame or anything. I just stuck it on the wall with tape, and I look at it. Helps me keep everything straight and to understand the dynamics of what's going on in the hive. And this all is constantly going on because the queen's laying eggs constantly, see? That means more new bees are all hitting day 1 quite frequently, every day, constantly. So it's new bees, old bees, and the balance of bees going on in there. It's dynamic and everything's changing constantly. So you don't really have a hive that stays the same. It's constantly changing and growing and going through these stages. Eventually it gets to here and it's trying to swarm, maybe. If you are good, you can kind of head that off and it doesn't happen. I've been pretty good lately, over the past 2 or 3 years at least, at it. And then some years you just lose it and they go crazy. But like I said again, this little chart shows about everything. You can buy it for about $14 at a bee store or whatever bee supplier. Have a great day, everybody. God bless you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.